Hello, welcome back. This is episode 2, Python 101. Okay, in our last episode we covered comments, a little bit on variables, a little bit on converting variables into different data types. We handled the print statement, try, and except, and we handled the if, the elif, and the else. We also handled user input. Okay. So now, in this tutorial, we're going to handle loops and functions and maybe classes. We'll see. And we'll probably handle imports too. But all right. So first off, we're going to make something called a list, or not a list, but a dictionary. Alright, now this isn't really a dictionary, it's more like an array. Well, basically is a list, but so we're just going to make a bunch of and we're just going to add in strings here. We'll just say oops. Alright, so now we're going to do something called a for loop. And there's a bunch of different ways we can do for loops. This is one of the ways that I use a lot. Basically, it's just going to loop through for each of these. Okay, so you just start by saying for, and then you make up a name for string, and then n. Okay, and then we'll print string. Alright, let's see what this does. I must have spelled it wrong. Nope, I think I have to do that. Okay, no, that's fine. Sorry about that. As you can see, what it does is it loops through. Hold on. It loops through each string in the dictionary. For string in dictionary. And then it prints the string. So it goes through the loop. It gets this. Okay. It prints out hey. Then it goes back up top. Prints out yo, goes back up top, prints out sup, roar, meet, peep, question mark. Okay? Now, do another for loop for actually, you know what? We can just let's see, how can we do this here? Alright, well there you go, that's a basic for loop. So now we'll just make this x equals 10, okay? So now we can go for And as you can see, this one loops through the dictionary. This one starts at 1, okay, and then ends at 10. So it's not going to print the 10th number. Alright? So now we'll do a while loop. And then this one is just while x is less than, or x is greater than 10. Or no, x is less than 10. We want to print x, and then x plus equals 1. Now what that would do is increase it by 1, but to make it, you could do it like this too, plus 1. X equals x plus 1. And it's going to print x. And really, I should make this alright. For now, I'm going to go ahead and comment this one out. Comment this one out. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and run it so we can see exactly what's going on here without all the other stuff. Okay? So basically, it's saying x is equal to 1 now, and it's checking. Is it less than 10? Yes. So it prints x, and then it increases x by 1. And it goes up, and as long as x is less than 10, it'll run it. Okay? Now we can also do an infinite loop here. While true. Now this will run forever. Okay? And this brings me to my next point. We could do an if statement in here to break out of this loop. So if x equals 20, we're going to break. And what this does is it breaks out of this loop here. Okay, so let's check this out here. And really, we didn't use the x in this one here. It's my mistake. I'm sorry about that. Giving you wrong information and stuff. Alright, so when it got to 20, it hit break, and then it breaks out of the first loop. Okay? And while true, if we didn't have this, you can see if I do this, go ahead and run this, it's basically an infinite loop. And there you go. Taking off, little buddy, taking off. Okay, so we're going to end that. Alright, so you get the point. You get the picture? Alright, so now what we're going to do is so we have a list here. Actually, I could probably cover that next time. Alright, so we're going to make a function. So we'll go ahead and cut this out, paste it there. Okay, so we're going to want to use, we're going to do a function here. We're going to start off by saying def to define a function, and then we're going to make a name for it. First func, and then we're going to make 2 of those and 1 of these. Okay, so our first function, we're going to do, what do we want to do with it? We're just going to print so if we run it now, it's not going to do anything. Okay, so what we got to do is we got to use this function. Okay, so we'll just do it by saying first func. Funt. Alright, whatever. First funt. Make sure to spell it wrong. First func. Alright, there we go. It uses the function. Okay, so now we want to now you can sometimes functions need to get in certain data. This one is going to take in 2 integers, so we'll just say num1 and num2. Okay, and then it's going to Alright, so when we use the function, we got to pass in certain data types. So it's going to expect an integer here, so we're going to just do 12 and 30. Okay? And as you can see what it did, it took in 12 and assigned it to the variable num1. It took in 30 and assigned it into num2. It set answer to equal the sum of that, and then it just prints out the string we gave it plus answer, converted as a string. Okay, now that is your basics of variables, or not variables, of functions. Alright, so you can also pass in strings and whatever you want, actually, into there. Alright, so now we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that, and we're going to do a return. And what do we want to return? We're going to return ants. Okay, so now here we're going to return the string of answer, actually. So it's going to return a string. Okay, so we're going to print Let's see what this would do. Same thing. So now, basically, to take in information, you can use this, the parameters here, and it'll do stuff, and then it will do an output. So basically, this is input into the function, and then this is what the function will pass out. So now, whenever this is called here, and the numbers are passed in, it's saying, okay, add these two numbers, and then return the string form of it to this sentence. So basically it's saying, this is return, and then it's saying plus string answer. So basically I might as well just say, I could do this too, string, and then this won't work, I don't think. It might. I don't know, I've never tried, and it does work. So basically, that's what that is doing. Okay? Right here. Okay? So we'll go ahead and leave this. Alright. So next, we're going to make a class. So what a class is basically a group of code. So we'll do class first. And in here, we can do a function, do def, and now when you're in a class, the first thing you always have to define is self. Okay? So, now what we're going to do is, and then you can define the data types you want. So we'll just do self. Okay, so there's that. Alright, so we're going to do in So now we're going to start get a new window. This leads me to my next point of imports. Alright, so our file name is pi101. Okay, so now we gotta either put it in the same, save it in the same place, okay, so now we can now import in our pi101. So we'll start off by saying imp. Okay. So now, now we can have access to all of these functions in here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say Alright, so what this is doing is it sets self to equal 29. Alright, so minus the self. Alright, so basically it's doing the same thing. It's just importing the class and then setting that there, like that. Okay? So now, 1 second. Okay. So now, we're going to extend first class. Alright, so we'll say okay. So now what is going on here? What is this? We have a class here, and then we have a second class, and then what this is it's basically extending, or it's using all of the first class here, and the second class is now equal to the first class. Basically, it's like this is the parent, and then this is the child class, or now, and then pass is basically do nothing, and it's kind of a weird thing. But now if I go like this, let me save this first. Even though there's nothing but a pass in the set class, if I run this, it will print something out, because we now have access to everything that is inside first class when we're in this class. And we can also overwrite methods. So if we get rid of pass, we can do def sec font, and then we go okay. So now when we call this, we're going to have to pass in another number and run this. Oops, I forgot to save. Sorry. Okay. So now what it did was this is now an overwritten function. Now if I tried to do this, like, okay, since we still got this function, let's try to do this, see if it works. And no, it doesn't. It needs num3. Okay, so you get the picture. So that's imports. Let's see. So now we can go. Let's go ahead and leave this like that. Save it. Go ahead and exit this. that there. And as you can see, it now has a pi cache. All right, because we imported that there. So, or not, yeah, we used it basically. Okay, so now we're gonna do. Well, we can explore some functions and methods and stuff. So first off, we can explore a couple different things. Okay, let's do. All right, so we'll import a few things. So these are some of the built-in modules in Python. Um, okay, since we have Python 3, we don't need to import this, but all right. So let's do some randoms. I was going to show you URL stuff, but it's kind of a little bit more advanced. So we'll do import random. So we'll make a variable called x, and then it equals random dot rand range. Okay, and we'll set it from 1 to 100. All right, so we'll see what happens here. Okay, 27, 75. As you can see, we're getting random numbers now. Okay, so basically what it's doing is saying we want a random range from 1 to 100. Okay, so now we can do like if x is less than less than 20. Okay. Hopefully we get a couple odd numbers there. Let's see. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, so x was 73, and then it set it, it was 73, and it was over. So, okay, that covers my next point here. We can do operators. So, or, I don't know if we did this up here. Ors and ands. No, we didn't. Okay, so So basically what's still going on here is, while x is less than 20, or it's over 60, it'll fire off this block here code. And then if it's not, it'll get to this, it'll just skip this and print out x. So any one of these could be equal, and it would fire this off. Okay? So let's see. If x is if x is greater than 0 and x is greater than 10. Alright, x was 10, and then it reset x as 94. So, okay, what's going on here? Then x is greater than 0 and greater than 10. Reset x because it's 87. And then x was greater than 0 and 10. And it printed out 29. Okay, so this is what happened. Set x set x to 10. Okay, it looped through. And since 10 was less than 20, or it could have been over 60, it printed out x is 10. It checked if x was greater than 0 or 10. It wasn't. So it set x to 94, looped through, back through, and checked. Alright, is 94 in between 20 and 60? And it wasn't, because it was over 60. And then it printed out x is 94. And then since x was over that, it printed out this message here. And then it set x to 87, looped back through. Okay, 87 is greater. And it printed that line, 87 to 87. And then it was over this. Both of these were true. So it printed this line. It set it again to 29. And then it printed x. Okay? So there you go. Now, okay, So we're going to make a list here. I don't know. Random. Yeah. Choice or random choice, I forget. So we'll just go ahead and I think it's random choice or rand choice. I'm just going to check this real quick. Alright, so it's random.choice. As you can see, it's making a random choice of this. Maybe it'd be better if I actually did something with sends here. Okay. And then there you go, that's random. Okay. So there we go. Alright. So now, what to cover. Okay, so we'll do. Alright, so I'm going to show you the basics of website data hacking. So let's go ahead and get this. Okay, so we have a website here. Alright, go ahead and view the page source. And there's a bunch of different stuff in here. Okay. And we're going to just skim through. And we're going to find something interesting. Alright, this one here. So if you copy this, Control Find, okay, so it's the second image source. How can we do this? Alright, so we can find something in here, like, for instance, we're just going to do this, copy. Since we are using this page here, this here, copy this. So we'll do URL request dot URL open Alright, so now we're going to put in the URL here. Okay, so that's the URL that's going to open. Alright, so try running this, see if it works. Alright, so it works. So now, one second. Alrighty. So now what we're going to do is, we're going to do Alright, now what this is going to do is, it's going to read page data, set it to a string, and then we're going to have something called page read. Okay? And what that is going to equal is the whole HTML of that web page. So if we were to print page read, it'll print out all of the HTML for that one website. Alright, so there it is. Alright, so now to get out the information we need from page read, what we're going to do is we're just going to go in our source here, and okay, so we got this line here, and so now we'll go so we'll make one variable called stuff, and then another one called clean1, and that's going to equal page read dot split. Now this is a string method here, and then we're going to split it here. I'm going to split it right there. Alright. So now if we have to do backslashes here to set these to not equal anything, because it was thinking that this is the end, that it goes there, and then this and this is a string, but we don't want it to recognize this and that. So backslash, whatever's in between, whatever comes behind the backslash, it sets it to nothing, or not, just to ignore it basically. So basically what's going on here is everything this and before of the HTML is getting put to stuff, and then everything after it is getting put to clean1. Okay, so now basically that's just cutting off the front part of the HTML right here. Everything from here and forward is getting set to stuff. Everything here and after is getting set to clean1. So now we're going to split it at the on error here. So we'll just copy this, and we'll do clean2 comma stuff equals, and then clean1 dot split on error comma 1. Alright, so now we'll just print clean2. Go ahead and run this. Alright, so it cut this out of the HTML. Okay, so now we don't want these here, we just want the pure link, and we don't want all this junk. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy, and we're going to say clean3 equals clean2 dot replace. Okay, and what we're going to replace is this, and where we're going to place it is we're going to replace it with a space. Okay? So now we can do clean 4 equals make another replace. Okay? We're going to do 3 of these, 2 of those, and we're going to escape one of those. Okay, so it's replacing the quote with nothing. So clean 4. Now we should have just the information we need. Alright, there we go. Now if we were to put this in here, into our browser, we get our information. Okay? So that is that. That went over a few different things. It went over the URL library a little bit, reading HTML from a website, and it covered 2 string methods, split and replace. Alright, so I think that's good for today. Sorry about the simple mistakes I make. That's what happens when, you know, I don't script it, or like write down what I'm going to talk about. Because, anyways, yeah. Okay. So, if you already know all this and are kind of bored with this, and you still like using Python, go ahead and check out my Python bot tutorials. I'm about to start a new series on Java. Like, Python is not my best language, because the only thing I use Python for is bots, for web crawlers and like chat bots and different things like that. My main language that I use is Java. I do a bunch of different things like game development and Android apps and things like that. I plan on covering all that in my Java series. So if you don't like Python or whatever, feel free to check those out too. Okay? Peace.